A woman is in a park breastfeeding her child when a couple passes by and sees this. The man stops and the woman asks why he stopped. When she sees the woman, she goes to talk to her. She starts fighting with the breastfeeding woman and tells her to stop. She says the woman was showing off to try to steal the other women's husbands, but she says that wasn't true. The woman gets mad and then starts throwing water at her, saying she deserved it. The man, seeing that, asks his girlfriend to stop, but the woman gets mad at him too and asks if he was defending the woman. He says he has no problem with what she was doing, and she tells him to stay with her, that she would leave. The man then apologizes to the woman, but she says it's okay and thanks him. Later, the woman arrives at her house and her husband was serving the table. He greets her and asks her worriedly why she's soaking wet, but she says it's nothing. The husband says he wants to have money to pay someone to help the woman take care of her child, but as he had invested all his money in his company, he couldn't, but she says that it was fine, that her husband was investing in your future. The husband then thanks his wife for understanding, and she says that they will soon see better days for them. Sometime later, the man arrives at his house and the woman soon begins to argue with him because he had defended the woman earlier. He says that his wife had acted wrong earlier, but that it wasn't for the two of them to argue about it. Unconformed, the woman says she had no choice but to act that way, because the woman was showing off for everyone to see. The man says he had no reason to act that way, as the woman was just breastfeeding her child, but the woman says she doesn't agree. The man then says that his wife could give him a child, as he had been asking her for a child for a long time. The woman tells the man not to talk about it again, as she doesn't want to be a mother and doesn't want to destroy her body to have a child, but the man says he doesn't believe what she was saying, as she was only thinking about herself and that her dream was to have a child. The woman then tells the man to stop thinking so much about having a child and focus more on his work to earn more money so he can stop plastic surgery for her. The man then says that since the woman doesn't want to give him a child, he wouldn't pay for plastic surgery for her either, but the woman says that he will pay for the surgery anyway, one way or another. Sometime later, the two women are walking down the street when they meet. The black-haired woman soon starts to argue with the blonde-haired one, but she says she doesn't understand why she acts that way. She says that the woman knows why, that she walks down the street showing off to the other women's husbands, but the woman with the blonde hair says that that wasn't true, that she was just breastfeeding her child and that she wouldn't leave her husband alone. Son, go hungry. The woman then says that she could even deceive other people, but that she wouldn't deceive her, because she knew the type of woman she was. She then says that she wouldn't even answer the woman, but that makes her even angrier, and she says that it wasn't for the woman to think that she was superior to her. The woman with blonde hair then says that the woman was supposed to go find a doctor to take care of her mental problems, as they were serious. But she gets mad at that and slaps the woman in the face. The woman tells her that she was going crazy, but the other tells her to get out of her way and that she never wants to see her again. The blonde then says that she should see a doctor and leaves. The other then starts to insult the blonde. Sometime later, the husband is in his office when someone knocks on the door and he tells him to come in. The man then enters the room. He asks if his clothes had sent for him and he says so. He says he wants to congratulate the man because he was being one of the best employees in his company, and the man thanks him, saying he's just doing his job. He then says that he wants to get to know the man better and that he wants to become more friends with him. He asks what the man would think of setting up a meeting to get to know each other better and that he should take his wife and the boss would do the same. The man accepts and says it would be an honor for him. He asks if the next day would be a good date for the meeting, and the man says yes, and he would let his wife know. The boss then thanks him again for his great work, and the man says he looks forward to his meeting. The next day, the man is with his wife and asks to be able to hold his son. He takes the child in his arms and says how beautiful she was. The woman says that her husband's employee was taking a while to arrive, but the man says that he would be there soon. The woman then asks for her son and says it was time to breastfeed him. The man then says he's going to the bathroom and would be right back. Meanwhile, the employee and his wife arrive at the company. He tells his wife where the room was and that she should go first, as he would go to the bathroom first. Arriving in the room, the woman sees the other and says she doesn't believe she was there and asks why. She then asks if she was following her, but she says that she was the one chasing her. The woman then says that she wasn't there to argue and that she should stop that, but the woman says that she was always showing off everywhere, and that it was for her to respect herself more, and says she doesn't know how the owner of that company allow that. Then the man appears and asks why the woman is talking to his wife like that. She says that the man was cheating, that the woman was a failed single mother. The man asks the woman to show more respect to his wife, but the woman starts insulting the man's wife. Seeing this, the employee interferes and tells his wife to stop it. The man then asks if his employee knew that woman, and he claims to be his wife, which leaves the woman confused that that man is her husband's boss. The wife then says that that man was the boss of the woman's husband, his wife, and still owned the company. The employee then tells his wife to stop treating people that way, who had already told him many times to stop it. The woman then apologizes to them and says that it was not her intention to offend the man's wife, but the wife says that she did, as she had thrown water in her face, hit her face, and humiliated her many times. The man then asks for explanations about all that, and the employee asks if his wife had done that, and she says yes, and that she was sorry. The employee then apologizes for everything his wife had done, and the man tells him to stay calm, because the problem there was his wife. The employee then says he is embarrassed about that, but his boss says that he should calm down, because he was an excellent worker and that he trusted him a lot. He tells his wife that it was that employee he had told her about and that he was a great employee. The employee then says he is very embarrassed and cannot stay there any longer and leaves. The man then tells his wife that he didn't know what was happening to her and apologizes. Meanwhile, the woman runs after her husband. He says he doesn't want to talk because she always made the same mistake. She says she knows she made a mistake and apologizes. The man then says that there were no more excuses and that the woman should have thought before doing that. She asks if they could talk later when the man has calmed down, but the man says no and that he doesn't want to see her anymore. She then apologizes to him and starts crying on the stairs.